Just last week, the US House Foreign Affairs Intelligence Committee gave President Biden unprecedented powers to ban or prohibit TikTok. And this is coming at a time when TikTok is already under intensifying pressure over concerns that their data of US citizens could end up in the hands of the Chinese government. We also had Mexico, where a Mexican cartel kidnapped 4 travelers that resulted in the death of 2 people, and a crazed passenger was taken down the airline, which begs the question, what is the future of air travel safety? And unless you've been living under a rock, you would have heard about the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, and that continues to send shudders throughout the American market and even all the way here in Australia. Well, joining us all the way from Canada is our North American and European correspondent, Michael A. Chabon. Welcome, Michael.
Hello, Michael. How you doing today? Everything good, I hope? Just in the process here to finalize our studio. Interestingly, the White House was considering pushing Congress to deal with TikTok. The Senate Intelligence Committee Chairman, Mark Warner, was to involve the Senate and the Intelligence Committee to basically not allow TikTok and ban it as a video sharing app. TikTok and other technologies, they believe, can expose sensitive data to China and the US and Canada. There's certain governmental bans on both federal and state governments who are not allowed to use the device on their personal phones. You know, many categorize TikTok basically as a piece of Chinese malware, and it's basically there to collect data and information from cell phones and tracking people. So basically, it's an information harvesting tool. Interestingly enough, though, TikTok users, they basically volunteer their information, and if the service is for free, there's got to be some kind of a rub. So how are they doing that? You know, and Chinese nationals, they are not allowed to view TikTok after certain hours because the government restricts it. So the new Chinese foreign minister last week basically released some sharp and pointed warnings to the US about banning TikTok and balloons, and saying that it was overstated and over the top. And clearly, China wants to work with the United States, but the horses are basically out of the barn. You know, there's other factors like Taiwan, where some people are saying that the United States should basically arm Taiwan now and don't make the same mistake that they did with the Ukraine and wait too late until it starts. But there's some talk that China may even be interested in arming Russia. Now, if they do that, they're going to feel the repercussions of the rest of the world. And I mean, they have an aging population. They want to sell to the rest of the world. So that would not be a very good position for them to do. So basically, it's getting to the point now where China is going to have to basically make a decision and what they're going to do, because the sanctions that were against Russia will be levied against them. Germany, which is a huge chip buyer, has realized that they were vulnerable to the Chinese and are generating their own chips, as is the United States. So I think China's dominance is going to definitely fade away, and there's going to be a lot of decision made in the next little while.
What do you think it is about TikTok that has the intelligence community so fearful of it?
Well, because it goes back to a Chinese national company that they can go in, because TikTok is an evasive program that is installed on your telephone. Therefore, it can have access to your contacts. It can have access to your GPS. It can have access to what you look at, what you do, what telephone numbers you use. So if you're a state or a federal department person, it basically has the ability to infiltrate, and that sometimes they feel, because it's a backdoor type of application, it can get into codes and look at your emails, and who knows what you've got linked to your phone, how careless you are. So it's just bad, and it's not a good thing. And basically, we've got to wean the rest of the world off it, because other European countries countries, I should say, realize that as well. So we've just got to get off it. It's just bad.
Why the delay, Michael? Why do you think it's taken so long for Congress to act?
There's so many kids who love it. There's so many people who use it. It's used as a marketing element. It's basically your 15 seconds of fame. There are people who are making money on it. It's easy to use. It's click and go. And I mean, the concept that everybody's working on now, is it easy? Is it free? Can I have it? Can I laugh? Can I watch? I want to do it. You know, and there's no, oh, you guys are all overreacting. No, it's not. It's an evasive aggregating app. That's what it is. And it is directly connected to the Chinese government, who can have control through a backdoor. Very dangerous, something that has to be eliminated. It's just bad.
Now, down in Mexico, Michael, what a horrific thing, but we've actually seen the alleged perpetrators delivered by the cartel.
Yeah, they put four of them in handcuffs and offered them up. Yearly there's about 3 million American medical and dental tourists who go to Mexico. And over a week ago, there was this one medical tourist with three of their friends who they left South Carolina and crossed into the Mexican border just south of Texas. Lativa McGee was a mother of six, and she was scheduled basically to have a tummy tuck, and her buddies were coming along for the tour. And as soon as they crossed, they got lost, and they tried to get a hold of the clinic for directions, and that was the last that they were heard of. Then suddenly, the four Americans were met by semi-automatic armed cartel enforcers with bulletproof vests who mistakenly assumed that these Americans were Haitian drug dealers encroaching on their turf. And the four Americans were kidnapped, and the next day, two bodies were found at what was called Baghdad Beach in Mexico. So basically the CDC, the State Department, and the FBI have issued warnings that going through those medical procedures, be it dental or medical, is very dangerous. But more importantly, that there's a hazard of a kidnapping and shooting down there. And the president, Andre Manuel Lopez Obrador, he said, "Well, Mexico is safer than the United States." And on my latest, the charbonreport.com, I dealt with that and made a suggestion that the interior cities of the United States will basically be run by these gangs one day, who are many of the people, the illegals, have been indentured to the gangs. So it's a very serious condition. It's terrible.
Why do you think the cartel offered up the alleged perpetrators? Were they worried about the crackdown that was going to come by the American law enforcement, do you think?
It just goes to show the asinine situation of the current administration, who is having an open bordered policy. I mean, the Republicans now are in control of the House. If they stirred it up bad enough and said they want the military to go in there, that would shut their business. It's $3 billions and billions of dollars of business that these cartel guys are doing in human smuggling and drugs. So they basically put up four people. Who knows if they're really the four people who did it? Just to kind of give some solace. Here are your victims, take your revenge. The money that's being made is brutal. I believe today they released statistics that there's 1.6 million gotaways, just the gotaways, 1.6 million, who are going through the United States. And now there's 50,000 people in New York who are being put up, fed, given phones, and basically being underwritten by the people in New York State to keep them there. And, people in New York State have to save money to pay for their school and all that. And there you have the sanctuary city of New York City paying for it. So it's just, there's going to be a huge backlash, and there's going to be a change that's got to come about, because it's just unrealistic. And the cartel is just making money over money over money.
Yeah. Now, it's been a while since I've flown in America, Michael, but last time I did, the air marshals were very obvious and very present, and the security was heightened. But we've just seen a crazed passenger that had to be taken down. Have we laxed in this? Are the air marshals still there? And what's the future of air safety now in America?
They've reduced the air marshals. Basically, on a Boston-bound United flight, this passenger stands up and starts screaming and try to open the emergency door during flight, which basically would have sucked everybody out, including him, and basically crashed the plane. So he goes bonkers and starts yelling that it's going to take every bullet in an air marshal's gun to shoot him, and he's going to kill every man on the plane. Well, basically, he got up and started moving toward a flight attendant with a broken plastic spoon and basically stabbed the flight attendant. Well, 6 to 8 people went and took this idiot down and basically held him at bay until they landed. But flight attendants are saying now they're the first position of defense here, and they're saying that they should be equipped with either mace or some kind of a stun gun, or given special defense courses, because they're being accosted. And the budgetary restraints, I mean, airlines are just coming back now from such a huge and bad COVID thing. There are not as many air marshals, if that many at all. But the thing which is most interesting is there is no existence of a do not fly list of people who should not be on airplanes. And that's another thing that the flight attendants are saying that should be enlisted as a do not fly for any of these crazy guys. But this guy's been I think it's threatening death, attempted murder, and doing something with a commercial aircraft. But it's, one guy puts a fake bomb in his shoes, and for the rest of us, we have to take our shoes and our belts off. I mean, air travel, if you compare, in the 1970s, you sit there and get on a plane, walk on the tarmac, and light a cigarette in the smoking section. I mean, we really changed, and ever since all those Israeli airplanes started being blown up, etc., it's been terrible. But
Mm.
just the idiocy of people flying has been disgusting.
They found any motivation? Was it religious? Was it terrorism related? Has they narrowed it down at all, Michael?
No, no. I mean, there was some talk that the man was not had some mental problems or something like that. I mean, who the heck stands up in the middle of a flight and says, "Bring the air marshal on. You can use every bullet to shoot me," and tries to open up the emergency door at X number of thousands of feet, which, as I said, would suck him out immediately, and he would die, and the air pressure would be drastically evasive within the interior of the airplane. You better hope you have your seatbelt on. I mean, he could have crashed the plane. It's just a nut. But
Mm.
you don't need a license to be a parent. You don't need a license to get on an airplane.
Yeah. And while we got you, Michael, the nominations are starting to come in. The candidates are starting to come in for the presidency. Any surprises so far for you, or is it pretty much as expected?
No, I think it's still going to be DeSantis against Trump. I think the problem with Trump is he's lost some of his base. I mean, much of what Trump presented in past was good, but the deliverer of the message was not. Ron DeSantis has proved, as the governor of Florida, that he put into place proper things. He kept the state going. I think he has an excellent chance of getting the Republican nomination. The problem, again, as I said, is Donald Trump has lost his shine, and he's already started to cut up DeSantis on the election field, and that's not smart so early, because people are looking at it and say, "Oh, he's starting that again." But DeSantis has to be careful because he doesn't want to piss the base off, because otherwise the vote's going to be split. But I'm hopeful that Ron DeSantis will come through. I mean, there's been a couple of other also rans, but the percentages, including Mike Pence, the former vice president, these also rans are just going to cloud the issue. It's a fight between DeSantis and Trump. And I hope DeSantis does it, because I think he has a much better chance of being able to convert Democrats across America than Trump would.
Yeah, and what about with the Democrats, Michael? They united behind Biden. I saw that he pretty much said he is running, and Bernie Sanders has ruled out, said he wouldn't run. Is there anyone there that you think will put their hand up to run against Biden for the
Well,
Democrats?
it's embarrassing, because I think Joe Biden is showing his age. He's telling fibs, so they're calling out him on fibs. He's basically having problems reading a teleprompter. Kamala Harris, the current vice president, has a lower approval rating than Biden himself. So other than potentially the governor of California, they have no horses in the running. They are going to have a real hard time. There is no one that anybody can rally behind and say, "Wow, the Democrats have a great position." There's a committee that is meeting on the border today, as a matter of fact, that's all about security and border control. And no Democrats decided to show up, so they started to interview all the police and sheriffs and all the people who are dealing with what's going on at the border, and no Democrats showed up. And the question was asked, "Is the border safe?" And they all said no. So Mayorkas, who's supposed to be the head of all that, basically is being proven as being untruthful. And I think the Democrats are basically going to get, well, we thought they were going to get handed it last time, and they didn't. So I dare say I'm going to be careful what I'm saying, because in the interim primaries, yes, the Republicans took the House, but they didn't take the Senate. So, but I think the appetite of America now is they've had enough. I mean, with these banks that have just gone down, Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, I mean, they're showing the weakness of these banks that were basically focused on being woke and investing in some would say high risk bank deals because their perspective was not on being bankers and generating profit. It was being more of a social justice vehicle, and they've shown themselves in very dire situations. And Biden went up right away and said, "Oh, by the way, we're going to back all your money." I mean, every depositor in the United States is guaranteed up to $250,000. Anything above and beyond that, you're on your own. So by Biden saying that he's going to back the Silicon Valley Bank and the Signature Bank, does that mean all the other independent banks, which could be 120, 220 banks, that he's going to back them too? Because they all invested in bonds. And their returns aren't going very well. The interest rate was very, very low, so they basically lent a lot of money. So it's a huge liquidity problem, and they had a run on the banks. Everybody got all upset and wanted to get their money back. So combine that, just that little nugget of, oh my goodness, combined with the border, combined with the Russians who took down a drone, and basically all they said was, well, we were in international waters and that's not a good thing. Like, do you really think that some past presidents would have just said that? America is showing weakness, and America is showing that it's going to get into a real financial problem. America can't even hold its own borders. And that's what the Republicans are basing. They're riding on the white horse to come and save America. And I think America is getting a little ticked off now, and Democrats are going to have a really hard time defending any of that that's gone on, because it's just embarrassing.
And I saw the reporting and the footage from CPAC. Has CPAC lost its power and importance in the Republican Party, or was it just simply because of who they had the speakers?
Yeah, there were some speakers. I mean, unfortunately, a Congress like that, they like to take some of the radicals. There was some people who spoke that didn't necessarily represent the heart of the Republican Party. There were some radicals, and whenever radicals get on stage and get empowered by a microphone, sometimes they say things that are a little far too much to one side. CPAC still represents a large gathering of Republicans who are discussing policy and trying to rally the base. But I think there were some people there who spoke out of turn and may have done a little bit of damage. A lot of people don't pay too close attention to elections until they get close. Those who do pay attention are those who donate to campaigns, and those who decide to endorse a candidate against another. The problem is that if you have radicals who speak up, sometimes they spoil the brew, one would say. But CPAC still proved its worth, but there were certain people who were speaking at CPAC, which I think did a little bit more damage than good. That's the way I would categorize that.
All right, Michael, we've got to leave it there, and we'll chime in next week. I look forward to seeing the finished studio. It looks amazing so far.
Thanks a lot. We're trying here. We just had a little technical glitch, but I appreciate your patience, and we wanted to make sure we made a report for this time. Thank you, Michael, and thank you to the Informer, and we'll talk to you next week.